clock at 5.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal. It's White. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his 5th. What a comeback.
This is All Eyes on the Pats podcast. Welcome to episode 4 of All Eyes on the Pats podcast. I'm your host, Steve Atkinson. Got a full show tonight, talking everything Patriots from what happened during the week, starting with Mike Florio in Pro Football Talk, bringing up the Deflategate again. He has new evidence to support the Patriots were not cheating during the 2014 AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Colts. And then I'm going to switch gears and talk about the New York Giants, former Giants head coach Joe Judge, who is now back with the New England Patriots as an offensive assistant, as Josh McDaniels has taken the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching job. And also, Tom Brady could be coming back, saying to Jim Gray last night, you can never say never of what the future can hold. So he's, here we go. Tom Brady's never leaving the NFL. But first, I'm going to start with Mike Florio bringing up the Deflategate again on the week of the Super Bowl. And so here we go. This was Mike Florio. He released an article on Sunday night, and it said this on Pro Football Talk. Beginning with the 2015 season, the NFL began conducting air pressure spot checks at halftime of games. The numbers were collected and protected with none of the information ever coming to light. It was expected that, given the operation of the ideal gas law, the pressure inside the balls would rise on warm days and it would fall on cold days. That's exactly what happened, the source put it. Numerous measurements made at halftime of games during the 15 season generated numbers beyond the permitted range of 12.5 to 13.5 psi, with the reading showing a direct correlation between temperature and air pressure. On cold days, pressure readings taken before the balls were moved to the field resulted in lower readings after 90 minutes of exposure to the conditions. On hot days, the pressure increased. So, what happened to those numbers from the 2015 season? Per a source with knowledge of the situation and as reported in Playmakers, the NFL expunged the numbers. It happened at the direct order per the source of NFL General Counsel Jeff Pash. Why would the league delete the numbers? It's simple. For cold days, the numbers were too close to the actual numbers generated by the New England Footballs at halftime of the playoff game against the Colts, which means that the numbers generated at halftime of the 2015 AFC Championship game in January were not evidence of cheating, but of the normal operation of air pressure inside a rubber bladder when the temperature drops, just as it was expected. But does that mean the Patriots weren't cheating, right? So Roger Goodell owes the Patriots an apology, and he shouldn't have never suspended Tom Brady, which is correct. But the Patriots were not cheating on that night. But there's text messages from Jim McNally and John Jastrzemski, who were former equipment managers, and I'm going to read those text messages now from the Ted Wells report that came out. So I'm going to read those now. This is Jim McNally. Tom sucks. I'm going to make the next ball a fucking balloon. John Jastrzemski. Talked to him last night. He actually brought you up and said you must have a lot of stress trying to get them done. Jastrzemski. I told him it was. He was right, though. Jastrzemski again. I checked some of the balls this morning. The refs fucked us. A few of them were almost at 16. Jastrzemski again. They didn't recheck them after they put air in them. McNally. Fuck Tom. 16 is nothing. Wait till next Sunday. Jastrzemski. OMG, spaz. Jastrzemski again. I have a big needle for you this week. McNally. Better be surrounded by cash and new kicks or it's a rugby Sunday. McNally again. Fuck Tom. Jastrzemski. Maybe you will have some nice size 11s in your locker. McNally. Tom must really be working your balls hard this week. Jastrzemski. Can't wait to give you your needle this week. McNally, fuck Tom. Make sure the pump is attached to the needle. Fucking watermelon's coming. Jastrzemski, so angry. McNally, the only thing deflating, son, is his passer rating. McNally again. Remember to put a couple sweet pigskins ready for Tom to sign. Jastrzemski, you got it, kid. Big autograph day for you. McNally, nice. Throw some kicks in and make it real special. Jastrzemski, you're lucky. 11? McNally, 11 or 11 and a half, kid. McNally, you working? Jastrzemski, yup. McNally, nice, dude. Jimmy needs some kicks. Let's make a deal. Come on, help the deflator. The deflator wasn't talking about his weight. The deflator was talking about the footballs because they were deflating the footballs before the games. So, these Patriot fans that want to say, they weren't doing anything. Not that day, but they were doing things to the balls, these two guys, because after this happened, the Patriots silenced them and they fired them and they said, go away and never come back. So there was some guy on Toucher and Rich that said they thought they saw him in Mexico. And the guy was like, oh yeah, I was told to be silent. I think it was just Jastrzemski. I was told to be silent. I can never talk to anybody. And, they silenced my family and they got threats and stuff. So, and this was a while back, but yeah, the Deflategate thing was stupid to begin with. But when you really think about it, the Patriots shouldn't have lost a draft pick. Brady shouldn't have gotten suspended. But it doesn't mean they weren't doing it because everybody was doing it. Aaron Rodgers was doing it, right? So, they all like their footballs a certain way. The only good thing to have to come out of the Deflategate crap was this song.
The game was delayed. How did you guys on that sideline not know what was going on the field with respect to the balls and that there was obviously an issue with the balls?
I don't think anybody knew there was an issue with the balls. To me, those balls are perfect. I can only speak for myself. I don't want anyone touching the balls, rubbing the balls. To me, those balls are perfect. Some guys like them round and some guys like them thin. Some guys like old balls, new balls. They're all different, so you gotta feel them and you gotta squeeze them. To me, those balls are all perfect. I choose the balls that I want. I grip it, I grab it, I feel the lace, I feel the leather. I wouldn't want anyone touching the balls. I would zip those things up and lock them away. Some days one ball may feel good, the next day it may not. I want to be very familiar with the equipment that I'm using. This isn't ISIS, no one's dying, but this is a very important thing because to me those balls are perfect. I can only speak for myself. I don't want anyone touching the balls, rubbing the balls. To me, those balls are perfect. Some guys like them round and some guys like them thin. Some guys like old balls, new balls. They're all different, so you gotta feel them and you gotta squeeze them. To me, those balls are all perfect. You gotta feel them and you gotta squeeze them. To me, those balls are all perfect. You gotta feel them and you gotta squeeze them. To me, those balls are all perfect. I grip it, I grab it, I grab it, I grip it. To me, those balls are all perfect. Zip those things up, and lock them away. To me, those balls are all perfect. Like I said, I had no.
So that's the best thing that happened to Deflategate was the recording of that song from his press conference. That was, I think it's from Songified from YouTube. That's freaking hilarious. So, enough with Deflategate talk. We're going to be talking about Joe Judge, the hard-O coach who came from the Giants after getting fired from 2 seasons. And before I go on about the Patriots and the offensive coordinator situation, the defensive coordinator situation, here's Joe Judge a couple weeks ago at a press conference. I think it was the last game of the season. And here is the new offensive assistant for the Patriots. Here he is.
obviously, we didn't do enough to have success today on the field. You got to give credit to that team. Obviously, they played better, made plays when they had to. All right, there's some things that we could do in the game better, give us a better chance. Look, ultimately, all right, it wasn't good enough. All right, I'm proud of the team for things they've done and fought through and stayed together as a team this year. Ultimately, it's not good enough. The fans deserve better. It doesn't meet our expectations as a program. It's not going to be acceptable, and the things we have to correct, we're going to start on immediately going forward in the future and the start of the next season. All right, that being said, I'll answer any questions you may have.
How confident are you that you're going to be able to have the opportunity to go move forward?
I'm not going to worry about these hypotheticals right now, Jordan. I appreciate it. I understand it's going to be the question of the day. All right, just understand it kind of follows on my, baseline answer of the hypotheticals. So,
Can you explain the thought process behind those two QB sneaks you guys ran?
yeah, so we were backed up. We had a shot on the play action to get the ball out in the flat. Okay, we got to make the throw and hit the guy right there. Eli was open there. Would have been a good shot coming off the goal line there to get us some yardage and get some space. And then ultimately, look, we're backed up. I wanted to get room. We're going to push it on forward. I wasn't going to live through what happened last week in Chicago. So we're going to give ourselves room for the punt. We did that. We gave ourselves room for the punt. We protected it. We covered well. We played the field position situation I want to play. We held them on the next drive. And that's the way we want to go ahead and play that. Now, do we want to do that all the time we're backed up? No, but that was a situation of the day with where we were. And I want to make sure that, the things that we had issues with last week in Chicago, that was not going to repeat itself.
I feel like we're having faith in your players. I mean, do you feel like that shows faith, though?
Well, I think it shows faith in the fact that I knew we were going to cover the kick and then play defense right there. So in the situation of what it was, that's how I wanted to play right there, Dan. So
Joe, you said you're going to get to work immediately on fixing this stuff. What's at the top of the list then?
there's a number of things, guys. There's a number of things. Obviously, we have to have better offensive production. Okay, so we'll go through, the evaluation process and get into that. There's a number of other things on the list as well. I'm not going to go through a full diagnosis. I don't think it takes much thinking to go ahead and list the offense production as an obvious thing we've got to correct immediately around here.
So that's Joe Judge from a couple weeks ago at his last Giants press conference. And then he got fired, I think, shortly after that. And now he's back with the Patriots. And he was special teams assistant from I want to say 2012 to 2019. He was a special teams coach, I should say. And now Cameron Accord is the special teams coach, who came from a community college, I guess, in Mississippi. So when we talk about Joe Judge, he sounds so like, I know everything. We're gonna do this. We're gonna be all in. We're gonna punch you in the mouth. And it didn't work. And that's what he did in his introductory press conference. He's all like, yeah, we're gonna be all in. We're gonna come at you and we're gonna knock you to the ground. And I'm gonna take responsibility. We're gonna win games. We're gonna do all this. And he lasted 2 years. Okay. So he lasted 2020 and 2020. Yeah, 2 years, and he's done. He ruined Daniel Jones, which I don't think will happen with Mac Jones, because I think Mac is better than he's better than Daniel Jones, and I think he has better coaching other than what and I think he has better coaching, meaning Belichick, right? I don't think I don't think Belichick is going to let Joe Judge ruin Mac Jones. I don't think the assistant coaching and, with Jason Garrett running the offense with the Giants, that was even worse. I mean, Belichick won't let Joe Judge ruin Mac Jones. Having said that, having Joe Judge back here, it's just, is that the best solution? The Giants are paying Joe Judge's contract, and the Patriots, they like to take the easy road, meaning when they brought back Matt Patricia from the Lions are paying Patricia. The Patriots aren't. The Lions are paying him. Patricia's above Belichick. He oversees everything, right? He's an assistant to Bill. On the defensive side, you have Gerard Mayo, who's a former Patriot player, who the players respect. You have Steve Belichick, who's calling the plays, son of Bill Belichick. You have Brian Belichick. You have Mick Lombardi, son of Mike Lombardi, who's friends with Bill Belichick. And now you have Joe Judge, friends with Bill Belichick. Matt Patricia's friends with Bill. You have all these assistants that are friends and family of Belichick. And, when you kind of look at that, when you look at it that way, it's like, are these guys the real solution, or is it because you know them and you trust them, and is it the best solution though? Like Joe Judge, after hearing him, it's like, is he really the best solution for Mac Jones? Is it? And you're not going to have an offensive coordinator, so you're going into the season possibly with no defensive coordinator or no offensive coordinator. The way the defense played the last game, there is no way in hell Steve Belichick should be calling the plays. Gerard Mayo should be the defensive coordinator. Okay, if he's not going to get a head coaching job, it should be Gerard Mayo as the defensive coordinator de facto. If you want to name Joe Judge as the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, I should say, for the Patriots, then name him. Don't say an offensive assistant. He's just coming in as a supervisor or whatever. He's not coming in as an offensive coordinator because they don't have to pay him offensive coordinator money. It would cost them more to pay him as an offensive coordinator. Now, if they do bring in someone else like a Bill O'Brien, which Belichick doesn't want to take him away from Nick Saban, so maybe he'll be an assistant. Joe Judge will be an assistant, and then Bill O'Brien will be the head coach, offensive coordinator. I'm sorry. Bill O'Brien will be the offensive coordinator of the Patriots, which is probably better because Mac Jones was at Alabama. He showed O'Brien the playbook in Alabama when O'Brien got the job last year, right? So they've kind of already crossed paths. They know each other. It's a better solution, but O'Brien, according to Burt Breer, doesn't want to get in the way of Bill and Nick Saban, and they don't want to take each other's guys. Like, Nick Saban doesn't want to take Bill Belichick's coach for his staff, and Belichick doesn't want to take Nick Saban's assistants for the Patriots. So it's kind of like a back and forth kind of thing because Alabama and the Patriots run kind of the same offense, right? So to me, that's kind of like, well, if O'Brien wants to be an NFL offensive coordinator, then he should go be an NFL offensive coordinator for the Patriots if he wants to do that, right? And if O'Brien does get the offensive coordinator job for the Patriots and he goes to another head coaching job somewhere in the NFL, then Joe Judge could maybe potentially get the offensive coordinator job. But Belichick, according to Seth Wickersham's new book, It's Better to Be Feared, that came out this past year, wanted Joe Judge to be the offensive coordinator if Josh McDaniels left. Here's an excerpt from the book by Seth Wickersham. Replacing McDaniels was tricky for Belichick. If we promoted from within, someone like receivers coach Chad O'Shea, Brady might run all over him. By now, Brady knew more about offensive football than most head coaches around the league, and McDaniels had coordinated the offense so well that he had earned the trust and antimony. Belichick told associates he wanted more control over the offense. He considered splitting up the duties between himself and special teams coach Joe Judge, another promising staffer. But if Belichick became the de facto offensive coordinator, would Brady ask to be released? The relationship barely suited twice-weekly quarterback meetings. How could they meet for long hours on a daily basis, especially with Brady wanting more influence over personnel and scheme? But then Josh McDaniels started to solve the Josh McDaniels problems. NBC's Mike Florio reported that there was increasing chatter that McDaniels might have some doubts about Indianapolis. McDaniels trusted Ballard to draft players, but the two had never discussed other elements of the organization, such as the medical and video staffs. Those close to him felt there was a thin reason, perhaps a relatable for someone who was looking for reasons not to leave New England, and he ended up coming back here after accepting the Indianapolis Colts job. So now he's the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and Joe Judge has now come back after being fired from the New York Giants. So that only means one thing. If he's not an offensive coordinator and only an assistant, then who's going to be calling the plays? If it's going to be Joe Judge, then he should be the coordinator. If it's going to be Gerard Mayo or Steve Belichick, which is absolutely wrong, then that person should be the defensive coordinator. So, you had, according to, I was hearing this on Felger and Maz today. Apparently, Steve Belichick would be, just calling the plays, and Gerard Mayo would be holding the meetings. And then Matt Patricia's upstairs, helping Steve Belichick call the plays. And so he's calling the plays, but Gerard Mayo's the one talking to the team. Gerard Mayo should be the defensive coordinator. Fact, not opinion. Fact. Not Steve Belichick, because he's the coach's son. And then, friends, family. That's what the Patriots coaching staff is. It's friends and family. And Cameron Accord from a community college in Mississippi. So that's the Patriots coaching staff. How does that portray going into the next season with a second-year quarterback? And they don't have a quarterback coach. Their quarterback coach went to the Raiders. So they don't have a quarterback coach. They have a hardo offensive assistant, Joe Judge. And that's pretty much it. They don't really have... They need somebody with more influence. And I don't think they're done. I think they're going to do more. I think they're going to go get Bill O'Brien. And I think they're going to get him in here, and he's going to be the offensive coordinator. That's my opinion. We may sit here next week and say, you're right, it happened, and who knows, right? They could sign O'Brien tomorrow. Joe Judge, fine, right? He probably wasn't going to get another head coaching job, not after sounding like he, runs the joint at the Giants. So I think, in my opinion, it's going to be good for O'Brien to come here and work with Mac Jones, who he's had a connection with, because they both went to, Jones obviously went to Alabama, and O'Brien was coaching Alabama offense last year. Anybody can coach Alabama's offense. They're a juggernaut every year. They're the number one team in the country, right? So they're gonna put up 50 points. Anybody could be the offensive coordinator for Alabama, and they'll still put up 50 points. They're a juggernaut. Okay? So, in my opinion, I think they go get Bill O'Brien. I think he's enough, and Joe Judge is what he says he is, an offensive assistant. All right. Switching to Tom Brady in his comments last night to Mr. Jim Gray. Here's his comments to Jim Gray last night on his Let's Go podcast.
You always liked Michael Jordan, and you had that poster on your wall, kind of your standard. He came back. Muhammad Ali came back. Mike Tyson came back. So inevitably, some quarterback's going to get hurt or not perform at the level, and it's going to start in July in training camp. It's going to go again in September and probably again in October and November. How are you going to entertain those thoughts, and would you ever consider that?
I'm just going to take things as they come. I think that's the best way to put it. And I don't think anything you never say never. And, at the same time, I know that I feel very good about my decision. So I don't know how it feels 6 months from now. It may change. It most likely won't. But, I try to make the best possible decision I can in the moment, which I did this last week. And again, I think it's not looking to, reverse course. I'm definitely not looking to do that. But in the same time, I think you have to be realistic that you never know what challenges there are going to be in life. And again, I love playing. I'm looking forward to doing things other than playing. That's as honest as I can be with you there, Jim.
So, I'm looking forward to doing things other than playing, like spending time with family and all of this. So, did Tom Brady really actually want to retire is the question. Did he really want to retire? What happened? Was it something with football? Was it something with Giselle? Did she threaten to leave if he played another year? Did Bruce Arians get in the way? Which, that's what I think. I think Bruce Arians and Brady didn't mesh. And I think Colin Cowherd said this too the other day, that it was too loose for him in Tampa, that they weren't going to win. The Tampa was in a rebuilding stage. He wouldn't want to be on a rebuild team. He didn't want to relocate his family. The 49ers blew him off last year. He tried to go to San Francisco last year, and they said no. So, there was really, or in 2020, I should say, and they said no. There was really no other options for Tom during this time. So the only other option was to retire. And he didn't say retire in his statement. He just said, I'm going to leave the game, or I'm not going to make this commitment anymore. And then didn't mention the New England Patriots. He also wasn't asked that question last night in his interview. Why didn't you mention the New England Patriots in your statement? Jim Gray didn't ask him that because the questions are asked to Tom, because Tom Brady's podcast, he knows the questions before they get asked. So he either said to Jim Gray, I'm not going to answer this question, or, so don't ask me it, or he said to Jim Gray, if I say something, I don't want it to sound, fake, so don't just bring it up. If he said, well, I didn't mean to do that, or, it just, I didn't read the statement or something, no one's going to believe him, right? We all know what he feels about the Patriots. They should have given him the contract 2 years ago. Why would he, come back and sign the one-day thing? Should he have mentioned the Patriots? Of course he should have. But he mentioned them 2 years ago, but that was just leaving the Patriots. This isn't leaving the Bucs. This is leaving the game, but it seems like he's leaving the game for now. I think there's a door ajar that he may come back and be, not with Tampa, because I don't think he can be with Tampa. He may go, because he's going to be living in Miami. I don't know if he's going to go to Miami. I know they hired a new coach from the 49ers, but maybe. I don't think he'll come back here and play. That's not an option. And he's not going to go to Tampa. So, there's not really many options for Tom to go and play. But I do think that there is an ajar, and I think he's not going away. He's just going to keep coming. Because I think in July, he's going to be like, all right, I'm sick of being home. I'm sick of doing and I have an itch for football. I can't live without the game, and I got to be in the game. And he may come back, and he may sign a team with another team. But the Tampa does own his rights. So it's going to get interesting. But I do think he comes back. I thought he, last week after that, I was like, no. But then last night, he's leaving the door ajar, door open. Maybe he doesn't even come back until the following season, right? So you never know. He might pull a Brett Favre thing. Does that get annoying? Absolutely. It was annoying when Brett Favre did it. It will be annoying if Tom Brady does it because he's won he played for 22 seasons, won 7 Super Bowls, and went to the game 10 times. Really, what more do you need to prove? And that's probably what his family said. What more do you need to prove? You've done it all. You've done everything. But hey, he still has the love for the game. Then do things that, do analysts, do broadcasting, not broadcasting maybe, but analysts or something. I think he'll be all right with that. I don't know if he can broadcast. Drew Brees can't. I don't know if Brady could do that. But, if you want to do, a pregame show or something, I think he could do that. Absolutely. He does the podcast now. So, I think he could definitely you could do something like that. All right. So, to end the show, it's Super Bowl week. I am going to play you Tom Brady's 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. I made this video a couple of years ago before he left, before he went to Tampa. So it's all of 6 Tom Brady Super Bowls. I'm going to do a quick preview of the Super Bowl of the Bengals and the Rams. I am going to pick the Rams, but I do like the Bengals story with Joe Burrow. And if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, it's good for the Patriots because Mac Jones, his ceiling could be Joe Burrow, right? You get him the right receiver, like he played, like Joe Burrow has with Jamar Chase. You surround him with a good team around him, and he works on his mechanics. He does what he's got to do. Mentally, he eats better. He puts on some muscle. His leadership is better. He does all of those things this offseason, and they draft him a receiver that he went to school with at Alabama, and maybe a few other guys, and the offensive line gets better. Patriots could be in the Super Bowl next year. Absolutely. If the team is better, on offense and defense. Defense has to be better too. But ultimately, what the Bengals have done is, really surround themselves under Joe Burrow, because he's taken that team really on his back. Okay, I mean the receiving core is great, defense is okay, but everyone's kind of leading around Joe Burrow. The same thing will happen to Mac Jones, I think, in his second year too on the Patriots. Even if we don't have a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator, it's not a good thing. But I also think if Mac can kind of oversee that, and just take the advice that's been given him, and they draft the guys that will play the positions well, wide receiver, get a slot guy, maybe get Hunter Renfrow in free agency. Again, if you get him a slot guy like an Edelman, Amendola, Welker, he'll be fine. He really will. So I am going to pick the Rams, though. I like Matthew Stafford, and the Rams are loaded. They're loaded on offense and defense. Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, and Stafford deserves a ring. I mean, he came from a worse team, the worst team in the Lions. Oh my God, they're so bad. They sucked every single year. And I think it's Stafford's time. I really do. I think it's his time to shine. He's going to come in. He's going to make plays. And he'll probably be the MVP of the Super Bowl. So it'll probably be like 24-20 Rams. All right. So having said that, here is Tom Brady's 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots. Have a good night. Have a great Super Bowl week. And I'll talk to you next week.
Zerline sailing to the upright, and the kick is no good. And the Patriots quarterback of all time with this win.